All right, we are live with Titans Report podcast. Um, you can introduce yourself to the viewers and where they can find you.
Yeah, what's up, chat? Hope y'all having a great Friday evening. You guys can find me on Instagram, X, YouTube, Spotify, wherever you guys have social media. Y'all check out the pod there. We have episodes every Sunday, but what we're going to be doing now is have like at least 2 episodes a week. So that's where you can find good content at Instagram as well. That's pretty much where we upload most of the week. But Brady, thanks for having me on, bro.
You're welcome. So to start off with, we can. I'm gonna ask you about how you became a Titans fan and
Of course.
what's your favorite memory of the Titans and what
Ooh.
was your first memory of the Titans? So
First memory of the Titans.
yeah.
So it's funny because I'm not from Nashville, and some people think I am, or I'm born in Southern California, and you're limited to a handful of games because NFL and CBS they don't stream too many. My first memory was 2019 on Thursday Night Football, and keep in mind at this time, I did like the Titans a handful. I became a true Titans fan in 2020, but 2019 I liked the Titans, but I was also a Rams fan because my dad. So watching that 99-yard touchdown by Derek against the Jacksonville Jags is one of the first memories I have. And I'm watching that play. I'm just seeing him shoving people to the side, left, and right. I'm like, oh my God, this guy is not human. So it's funny enough, we came to our first game in 2021, and that was Jacksonville. And that was my first experience here as a Titans fan in Nissan Stadium. And ever since, it's been a blessing. My dad's still a Rams fan, so we still have some things time to time. We have some disagreements, but I love this team. This team's been with me for 6 years of my life now, and that was my first memory of just Derek getting that 99-yard touchdown. I'll tell you this: my first in-person memory, though, another topic was that Ryan Tannehill got a rushing touchdown against the Jacksonville Jags, and then they won 20-0. So that was my first in-person memory, man, and we've been going here. So there you go.
Cool. Well, when I was younger, I lived in Franklin, suburb of Nashville, and I went to the very first game that they were known as Titans against Bengals.
Okay.
And then when we lived in Tennessee, we had season tickets, so got
There you
to see
go.
a lot. So that was my first memory of them. And then last game I went in Tennessee was against the Colts when Manning and McNair had the co-MVP season. And then the last Titans game I've been to was 20 years ago in Jacksonville. I think that was McNair's last season, and he wasn't starting, so they had Billy Bodick starting, so the backup,
Mm.
and got demolished by Jacksonville. So I have not seen Titans in a hot minute, so you more recent, so that's pretty cool. So now we can go to the off season and your thoughts on how the Titans are looking and what they expect for the season.
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about the free agency first, we were talking about the draft. Free agency was a hit for the Titans, and I think when you look at it, they spent money at the right places, right? You needed corners, right? The Titans desperately needed to get more depth at that position, and they drastically got 2 starters. And in my mind, it's like, okay, that's a huge plus. You got John Franklin Myers, which takes a little bit of pressure off of Jeff Simmons, right? It helps him on that line, so that's a great start in free agency. And then I think you just upgrade everywhere. You get Wanda Robinson, you get some nice veteran backups in Daniel Bellinger and Trubisky, for example. But I think if you're looking through the whole offseason, I really love the coaching staff hires. Sala was a great hire. And then you look at Brian Dable, even makes it a more better hire because now you have Sala controlling the defense, and now you have Dable controlling the offense. The interesting thing is that Saleh never had play calls in New York, and he's finally having play calls his first time as a head coach. And I think he's going to grow over time. And, when you're talking about expectations, I can see this team, heck, being over. And realistically today, because there's still some couple holes, and we'll talk about that later, I would love to see this team to get 10 wins. I would love that. But I think the ceiling right now is currently 8 to 9. That's a huge upgrade from last year. and we'll discuss the schedule later on. But you know what? If you tell me 8 or 9 wins end of the year, that's a home run in my opinion. That is a big improvement from last season. But currently, right now, I stand 7 to 9 wins. That's my prediction.
Yes, I can see that as well. I love the additions and the coaching staff. I
Yeah.
was surprised with Dable. I was like, I was more thinking of like, okay, if New England would let go, if it happened, Josh McDaniels, I'm like, ooh, that'd be just what we need.
Yeah.
Because he elevates the quarterback. The quarterbacks. Look at what he did with Tom Brady over those years. What is that? 5 Super Bowl wins with him?
Yeah.
And then now with May, he took him to the Super Bowl. So it's like, okay, that's got, if we can get him, that's got to elevate Ward to the next level. But I was reminded that I forgotten that Dable was with Saban in Alabama. Like, ooh, that's a good point. So I was like, okay, it could work.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, let's see how the offseason rolls out and what the front office does with acquisitions. So I'm like, okay, seeing all the acquisitions now in the future from the point of when we got Dable, I'm like, okay, now it's starting to feel like it's gonna work. And with Sada being hired, I was like, okay. Originally, I wanted Andy Reid. I'm like, okay, it makes sense with Reid because with the GM, Trey Brinker was stepped down, so there have been. Now I'm blanking. Oh my god, I heard GM. Holy crap, everyone! Sorry. Old man syndrome here. Old man syndrome.
Are you talking about Carthon? Are you talking about what you talking about this year? Borgonzi?
Borgonzi, thank you. Yes.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it makes sense with Borgonzi. He has connections with Kansas City. He was there when they hired Reid. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't mind giving up a couple picks to trade for Reid, just like how the Buccaneers traded for Gruden. So I'm like, okay, that would make sense. And I like those older type coaches that have those experiences. Like before we got Vrabel, for my example, I wanted Bill Cowher. So I'm like, I like those type of coaches, the old school.
Yeah.
That can build and give the youth some leadership to look up to and have a coach that has been there and done that before. But now with Salah, I was like, okay. Hopefully, my thought was that I like what he did with San Fran both times. But with New York, I'm like, okay, that's New York.
Yeah, the Jets are also a bad organization too. So to be fair, it's like,
Exactly. And like there's less pressure here because New York, you have the media that's like overwhelming.
Yeah.
Here, afterwards, like, okay, who cares? Like we've been up and down. Okay, do what you need to do. So my favorite pickup that makes me feel good is Franklin Myers. I was like,
yeah,
hey, this is gonna go good for the defense. And then with the other acquisitions, there was one that I had not seen so much of. Is one of the corners, the one we got from New York.
It was a fly? Yeah, it was Cornell Fly, yeah.
Okay, I've heard the name, but I have not seen much.
Yeah, what's up?
So it's like, okay, with this, him being on the Titans, hopefully I can get more acquainted with his style of play.
Yeah, he was drafted, I believe it was 22. I've liked Flott for a while. He played a lot of outside, so it's going to be interesting if they're going to put him or Taylor at number one. Taylor was mostly a nickel last year, but I did like Cornell Flott. He's 6'2", 175 pounds, so He can very much start on the outside. He's done that a lot for New York. So, I mean, it's a guy that Brian Dable is very familiar with. Again, he had got an interception last year, 8 pass breakups just last season. And again, I think when you look at it, and like I mentioned before, they added well at this corner room. And with Taylor and Flott at the two guys leading the way, I have very much confidence in them. But yeah, Flott very and when you look at about it, like, I mean, some people are going to say, yeah, the contracts are overpaid, but sometimes you have to overpay some guys. Like, you're not always going to get the guy like at this certain price. Sometimes they want a little bit more. And if it's going to be a guy like Cordell Flott or Lante Taylor, yeah, I'm fine with that. He was pretty solid in coverage last year. He was 33rd out of 114 QBs in coverage last year. So again, I have confidence he's going to be facing some pretty good receivers next year in the division. So I'm very confident in that. I think Flott's going to be a guy you're gonna see in camp starting in, I think, June 11th, I think is when they kick off, and you'll see him all over the field and just running around, and you'll be like, oh, 18, okay, there you go. It's a good signing. So once you get to see him, you'll like the pick.
Yeah. Speaking of Alontae Taylor, so with him, I think last season was like pretty much his breakout, since he's still a younger player, but he's been in the league for a while now. And the game that really sparked my interest was the one against us at the end of the season. I'm like, ooh, he might be a little sneaky here, depending on the price range and the bidding during the offseason. I'm like, if it's the right price, and then if we are interested, then I'll be like, okay, yeah. Which we got him. I'm like, oh, even better.
Yeah, even better.
So now to the offensive side, I feel like, yes, we've upgraded the spots somewhat. There's still holes in the offensive line and wide receiver room. The one that I really liked was bringing in Bellinger. He's a good tight end too to have behind Helm, and it adds more experience to the tight end room. And then with the wide receivers, Tate was a good pick. Robinson was a good signing. I just want to see a little bit more to see if he can produce at that level like he did last season, at a consistent level, because last season he just broke out that 1,000-yard season. And then with bringing back Pollard, I knew that was going to happen. I'm like, no one's going to take him from what happened last season with the injury. And then Trubisky, I wanted Flacco to be out quarterback too, or multiple others as options to look at. But I was like, mainly Flacco because of the experience. I was a little shocked with Trubisky. I'm like, oh my gosh, really? But like looking at what he did with Buffalo compared to what he did with Chicago, it's a little bit more safer. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. So with the offensive line, going in the draft, I was looking at putting down adding more picks. So like adding an extra first round pick for next season, and then probably one more in the following season. And I was looking at Caden Proctor. That was my guy in the first round, but we got Tate, and we still got 4. I was like, okay, that's pretty cool. Gave a weapon to Ward, so I'd like to see that play out this season. That's going to be fun. What are your thoughts on the offense?
You talking about offense or offensive line?
A little bit of everything in the offense.
Yeah, the offense upgraded, like you just mentioned, the Titans want to go with Kale Moore. That's their guy, and they're pretty confident with him. And Borgonzi said it multiple times. And, kind of feeling the draft, they spent a lot of money on one side. Even though they signed Wandell, you're like, okay, you're going to have to spend a lot in the draft for offense. My understanding is, yes, the offensive line is still a need, which I'll bring up in a minute. I do like the backup to Trubisky because he knows Brian Dable's system, and he's going to be a veteran in case if Cam needs him, he'll go in there and help Cam a lot. And, the question mark is still the quarterbacks. Okay, who's going to be the backup, right? Levis is still here, and then Hooker got signed late. So really, how's that going to play out? We'll see sooner than later how that's going to go. The running back room is interesting to me, Brady, because you got 4 quality guys who could potentially start. You got Pollard and Spears who are going to be the 1-2, but you have to keep in mind both of those are free agents. And I'm not 100% sure if one of those guys or either both are going to come back. So when you're thinking about both of those guys at the lead, you're going to have to think about, okay, do they draft Singleton potentially to maybe do something this year, and then next year he might be the RB2 or RB1. We don't know, right? Singleton's going to have an impact. Carter's could be either a camp guy, either they want to have him in there as a third running back. We'll see. I mean, that's all still TBD. I do like the wide receiver room. I really think it's deep. I don't think we'll sign somebody else in that room just because we have 5 guys, unless if somebody gets hurt. I think that they're going to have to figure out is who's going to play 1, 2, 3, right? If they want to go Carnell Tate as wide receiver 1 right out that get-go, and they want to have him start, they might have him start. That's what sounds like that might be the plan. But, Brian Dable says he's going to have to earn it. We're not going to give it to him right away. Ridley's still here for 1 more year. I really think this is Ridley's breakout season. Like, hey, you have to break out or else we're going to have to think about more options. And you got Wandell, like you just mentioned, who's a 1,000-yard receiver type of guy who played a lot outside. He's premier slot guy, but I won't be surprised they use him everywhere. But you have to think about the depth behind you. I do like DK still. I do like Ironmanner. And honestly, today, I think DK is over Ironmanner currently right now, but that can change. And then, but you talk about the offensive line, which it's still interesting, right? I mean, you let go of Lloyd Cushenberry. They wanted Linderbaum, but Morganzi didn't want to go as high as 27. So when Linderbaum's price was $27 million, when you're thinking about it, you're like, what are the next options? They got Austin Slotman, who started 4 games last year for the Giants, who's mostly a 6-man lineman, just came in there a lot in special teams, who came in a lot as a backup, who could potentially start on day 1. That's a guy that they really like a lot. We know about Shronsky, what his potential is. We know about Moore, and I think Dan Moore will have a better year. Same thing with J.C. Latham. I think those guys are going to finally have better years. And the thing with Latham is he had an injury pretty much the whole year. So really, when you're thinking about that hamstring's going to affect you for the whole time. And at the end of the day, you're like, oh, we need to make sure this guy's healthy. And everything I've heard, JC's had a good offseason so far. But the center and right guard positions are still questionable. If they go with Austin Slotman, what are they going to do at right guard? I don't think they'll re-sign Kevin Zeitler. That's what I've been hearing. That seems like the door's not shut, but it seems like that's kind of been getting more closer. If anything, if free agency, Joe Bitonio comes to mind. There's a lot more guys out there in free agency they can look at guard if they don't feel comfortable. I will tell you this, Brady, they love Jackson Slater, and I think he's going to start. I think they're going to start him mostly at center or guard, but it's really going to matter if Austin Slotman's going to win the job, because if he doesn't, they might give that to Slater or Pat Coogan. They're going to let one of those guys compete, and then the right guard spot's still interesting. I don't think they're done adding at guard, I think, or center. I won't be surprised if a vet comes in here in the next 2 weeks as camp gets underway. Starting on Monday, I believe, the 11th. So it's going to get interesting, but I don't expect I'm still questioning about the center and guard positions in the camp, and that's pretty much going to be the question mark until we figure it out. But I like the offense, and it definitely upgraded from last year.
Yes, exactly. Good points there about the offensive line with Coogan, Slotman, and
my favorite pick in the whole draft is Pat Coogan. When you watch this guy on tape from Notre Dame to Indiana, you watch this guy and you're like, the fact that he's in the 6th round, it's just you looking at him, you're like, this guy could potentially start. I didn't even mention Carmen Basilio, I think is going to be way better for this group. And the thing is with Basilio is he's done great things he's been better with the Raiders. He did pretty solid last year with the Giants, and he followed Dable here. So again, good coaching staff, and that's really what's going to lead the offense.
Right. And that's hopefully the offense line can protect Ward and keep him from getting hurt like he did the last game against the Jaguars last season, and give him time to get those passes down the field to the wide receivers. And then once that happens, and if we're running the ball, hopefully they can protect the running holes for our backs against the defensive line or linebackers or the other defensive players on other teams. So hopefully that works out well. If not, we're gonna be in that same spot going into next year's draft or next offseason to find those correct players that can fit those holes in the correct way. But knock on wood, that works out. So that's my hope.
Well, I also will tell you that if you're talking about the offensive line, I expect a big year for Fernando Camargo. I didn't even mention him. I think Camargo is also going to get a chance to start. You know, when you're looking at a guy who is nasty, violent, who wants to punch, who wants to hit hard, that's Camargo. I wouldn't say I feel totally 100% comfortable, but I think as I'm watching more of these guys on tape, I'm like, okay, maybe we can work with this, right? But I'm still questionable about that guard spot, and like I said earlier, I don't know about Zeitler. I just right now, as I currently stand, May 8th, is he won't resign unless an injury happens. But right now, I don't think he will sign. I will tell you this: you mentioned the Ward injury. He looks great. He's been throwing. He looks great. Everything I've heard, he's in the building like every day, and he's rehabbing. You won't really see much of him right now when mini camp starts on Monday. I think I'll be kind of surprised because the timetable for him is June, and that's really the general idea is when Cam Ward's gonna finally get going and get thrown again. Right now, I just don't see it right now at the moment. I can potentially see him maybe on the side, but I expect him to get going in June. He's gonna get thrown. The thing about that play though is that linebacker came over and hit him, and I thought it was a late hit. It should have been a late hit, but anyway, but he totally went down when he went down. I think this offensive line is going to be a little more better this year. And, again, that's the biggest important thing. And should they have dressed it earlier? It's interesting because their board kind of fell in a weird way. But Morganzi trusts his board, and he got with the guys he wanted with Carmona and Coogan. Let me say this also. Neil Wagner is a guy to watch. That guy, swing tackle depth. He's a guy to watch, especially in camp. And I've seen him a couple times. And just past last weekend when the rookie minicamp was going on, and he was going out there shedding blocks, and he looked great. So I won't be surprised if he makes an impact somewhere in this offensive line either.
Yes, good points there about the offensive line. Hopefully it translates to the game once they get the preseason games going, and then once the actual games in the season starts going, hopefully it shows. So that's gonna be really probably the fun part of the season to see how the team grows with that too. And another name to mention that I didn't mention earlier in the wide receiver room, and I agree with it's good to have what we have with the depth. Is Xavier Restrepo. Hopefully he can. I like the combination of him and Ward that they had in Miami when they were in college.
Mm-hmm.
But with the depth we have, I don't know if he's gonna make it out of camp or like what the plan is for him, because he only got barely any playing time last season. He was on practice squad 99.99% of the time. So I don't know if he's gonna make it out of camp.
Yeah, you bring up Restrepo. He was there at rookie minicamp, and usually when guys are there, they don't usually make it 90% most of the time. And we saw it today. Hal Presley was there, and he got cut. He just got cut today. I will tell you this: it's going to be an uphill battle, and I want Restrepo to make this team 100% like the next guy does. But you have to think about, at the end of the day, does the coaching staff feel like he's worthy to get snaps? And that's really what's going to matter, because it's either going to be Bryce Oliver or it's either going to be Xavier Restrepo as the sixth man. If they're going to keep 6 men on the roster, if they somehow keep 7 guys, which we've seen before, I thought last year they're going to keep 7 guys on the 53. We saw only 6. So are they going to run with 6 or they're going to run with 7? We don't know. It's still a big potential today. We have no idea. I will tell you this, though. He's looked great in the offseason. He's worked out great. And the chemistry with him and Cam, the one game he got in, the one game, he got hurt. And the ankle injury, he wasn't technically an IR, but he was pretty much after that. That's all they had. And it's kind of surprising they didn't use him earlier. I was kind of surprised by that, at least earlier on, and kind of in the season. But yeah, I hope Restrepo has a good bounce back here. This wide receiver room is crowded, and it's going to be interesting. So really, for that last spot, it's either going to be Oliver, Restrepo, and it's going to be Montgomery as the three guys who are going to be fighting for the last spots even. But Restrepo has a battle to go. If not, if he's going to stay on the practice squad, I expect so. But you never know. If he's out there, he might get picked up. But currently, I think he might make the practice squad. Time will tell. We'll see.
Yeah, and I don't know if you forgot, but I don't know if I'm wrong about, but I haven't heard anything about this name of this player. But the Colt favorite of the team is Mason Kinsey, the on-off practice squad guy. So, like, is he also fighting for a spot too?
Yeah, Kinsey's fighting for a spot, and again, I don't know exactly. The funny thing is we'll see him mostly on Monday. He's fighting for a spot, and I think Kinsey's more of a special teams type of player. And it's going to be interesting to see if Fossil does want him on that special teams role. I will tell you this: I think he's a candidate to make the practice squad. Right? He'll probably post a meme on the one day that he gets cut, and he's right back. So again, I think he's a candidate. Again, I don't think if you're asking me top three guys who's going to get the sixth spot, I just don't see Kinsey currently being the sixth guy right now on the roster. I see him making the practice squad at best.
Yeah, I agree. And since you mentioned the schedule earlier, let me bring that up.
Yes, we finally found out when it's going to come out. Finally, thank goodness.
Exactly, next Thursday.
Yeah, it's funny enough, I was downtown and then I was walking by Nissan Stadium. I'm like, I got the notification from Adam Schefter. He's like, it's going to be out on Thursday. I was like, there you go. About time.
Yeah, I agree. I'm like, whoa. A little bit later than that, they were reporting it on Google earlier during the off season. They were saying like early May. Now it's like going to be mid-May. I'm like, okay. Yeah. That's a little bit different. Let me share my screen here so I can do that. Look at the schedule projection. There we go. So with the road games, they're saying we have at Baltimore Ravens, at Cincinnati Bengals, at Dallas Cowboys, at Houston Texans, our divisional rivals, those three, the Colts, Jaguars, and then at Giants, and of course our division rivals again at home, and then we have Browns, Steelers, Eagles, Commanders, and then there's at Lions, at Raiders, and then home Jets. So I did this earlier in the offseason on the live stream to predict how I think the schedule would fall. I believe I said at the Colts for week 1 because I always want to see that week 1. I'm trying to remember how I had it. I wrote it down. Let me see. I'm back and forth with how I did it. Yeah, there we go. So at Colts, and then home against Commanders, Browns, and Steelers. And then at Raiders, Ravens, and then another home game against Texans, at Lions, and then at Bengals, home against the Eagles, at the Texans, and then hopefully they can do this on Thanksgiving. If not, get a Friday game. So if it's on Thanksgiving, go at Cowboys. If not, have a Black Friday game at the Giants, and then week 13. You can have it flip-flop depending on who we play on Thanksgiving or that Black Friday matchup. So either at Giants or at Cowboys. And then have week 14 as your bye versus Jets. And then at Jaguars versus Colts. And then versus Jaguars. So that I would put that versus Jaguars game, last game of the season, on prime time. So you can have maybe a big celebration of going into the new stadium from the old stadium So that's why I have it that at the last game of the season. How do you think the schedule will lay out?
I would love to see the Giants and Titans week 1, and that's my matchup. That's why somebody asked me earlier about that, because it's a Cam Ward, Brian Dable, Robin Saleh versus the New York Giants of John Harbaugh, and then you have the offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, and then you have Jackson Dart. That's my prediction, but I can also see I looked at the schedule more in depth earlier. I would like to see Detroit. I can see them week 1. I can see Washington as potential week 1. I see Dallas on here is very interesting, and you mentioned Thanksgiving. I would love Dallas on Thanksgiving. We faced them in the past before, and I would absolutely love to have Dallas on Thanksgiving again. We haven't played a Thanksgiving game since 08. It was 08. It's been a while. You mentioned prime time. You mentioned that, and I will tell you this: I hope we get a prime time game this year, and it would be nice to have one more time at the old stadium before we get to say goodbye to it, right? This is the final year we just say goodbye to the old Nissan Stadium before we all transition to the new one. So yeah, I would love to have a primetime game. And you mentioned the Jags. I will also I like the Colts. I like the Colts a lot. Maybe somehow in some way Vegas. I don't know if Vegas will be, but then schedules will be interesting. I'm still dissecting how I'm gonna put the games, but Giants, Jets could be very much. Robert Saleh versus Aaron Glenn. Robert Saleh gets his revenge in week 1. That might be getting some eyes in the league, but those are my predictions. I'm very glad the schedule's coming out next week, and we're excited to break it down. But I will have my full prediction. I'm writing it out shortly. But the top 3 games I have right now are the Giants on the road. It's the Titans haven't had a home game in a while. I'd love to have a home game, or if you're taking home game, be the Jets. I don't think we'll play AFC South in the first 2 weeks. I think the Colts will be week 3 at home, like they did a couple of seasons ago. But I think week 2, I won't be surprised if it's Detroit or Cincinnati or Vegas or one of those teams. But the schedule's gonna be fun. We have a lot of good opponents this year, and especially going back to Jacksonville this year, which we'll be doing, will be interesting.
Yeah, it would be interesting. So now looking forward. So I know. So that stream I did a way too early mock draft for all 32 teams, but I can pull up what I did for the Titans. I haven't done it for the Titans yet, but I'm see here. Hold on.
ADC Sports has a really good one too for the draft simulator.
Oh, okay. I normally do the mock draft database one. Okay. So the thing I messed up on is I forgot to have like another pick for the Titans. I just did it like as of like, oh, we gotta trade up or trade something to get that like one of those top 3 picks, because there's a wide receiver who I really like for us to get in like the top 3 parts of the draft, the way he's gonna be projected as of right now. So I'm looking at Jeremiah Smith in round 1 for the Titans. If we can get that extra first round pick, so we can get that top range to get him. And then the thing I messed up on is not having like a later pick for like if it's like our own pick. There's another wide receiver I'm looking at. I'm like, okay, that's double dip at wide receiver going in the next year's draft. This guy was injured last season. He plays for Clemson. His name is Bryant Resco Jr. So if we can double up wide receiver there, we can have a really good, strong top 3 wide receiver depth chart going into next season to help Ward out. So you have Resco Jr., Jeremiah Smith, and Cornell Tate. That would be sick.
That'd be good. That'd be a good weapon.
That's what I'm looking at for next year's draft. Like, who is your guy, like way too early guy to look at for the Titans for like the first 2 rounds?
Yeah, it's interesting because per this mock draft they have him at number 5, and this is way too early. So it's like they have the fifth odds in the draft. So again, we're right back where we were just a couple seasons ago. I will tell you this: I like Dylan Stewart from South Carolina. The Titans need edge help, right? It's a big need. And the board that I have up here, I did it earlier. Jeremiah Smith was gone before I was gone here. I would like a receiver again. I just again, if it's really going to matter about Calvin Ridley if he's going to be on this team next year. Dylan Stewart, Colin Simmons. I mean, those are great, tremendous pass rushers in this draft. Easily some of the two best. And honestly, they've both been very productive for their respectful clubs. So let's just say if you do go one of the edges in round one, I've been kind of interested if something doesn't pan out and you're kind of wondering who is going to be the option at running back. I won't be surprised if they go and wait for a running back in day 2 of this draft if they don't get anybody out there. But my too early pick, if he does fall the second round, I don't know if he will or not. But if Kwan Lacey falls to the second round, the guy out of Ole Miss will be a nice running back for that Tennessee Titans room. And that is one of my guys I did. He had over 1,500 yard season on the ground last year. He had a big carry, 306 carries last season, and that's probably a projection. I mean, if you want a quality running back that's going to run hard at you, that's who you're looking at is Kwan Lacey. So Lacey and Simmons and Stewart, my two guys I'm watching, but I won't be surprised if they go corner. And the reason for that being is because they need depth at that position. I talked about Kenny Moore potentially earlier. And if they really feel like, hey, man, we do need a corner, Leonard Moore from Notre Dame is a really big option. He had a pretty solid season last year, 5 picks and 7 passes deflected. So everything's on the table. And if they really feel they can go anything here, just, again, it's really going to matter what's going to fall, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah. One last thing before we get off here. With the remaining free agents that are out there still, who is the one other than Kenny Moore that you mentioned is the one you're looking at right now?
Yeah, I mentioned Kenny Moore, and he just came a free agent yesterday, who I really do like. I do want to kind of mention this to people out there. I don't see Stephon Diggs as an option. It just doesn't seem like a fit for me. And really, like we mentioned earlier about that option, is like I just don't like that signing of Stephon Diggs. I will tell you this. I mentioned earlier, Joe Bitonio is a guy that I'm really watching. It's really going to matter what's going to happen to that guard spot. If they really do want to add a veteran to that spot, that's where you can see Bitonio going. I won't mind that at all. Greg Van Roten as well is a big option at guard. So those are 2 guys I'm watching. I like Joey Bosa at the edge spot because he's a guy that can fit Saleh's scheme. Hassan Reddick can do the very much same thing. Reddick can fit Robert Saleh's scheme. Those are 2 players I'm watching. But, again, I mentioned the cornerback spot with Kenny Moore. But those are some guys I'm watching. Again, this is probably, again, some of these guys won't sign until summer. But if you're asking me 3 guys, I would love to add Bosa, Kenny Moore, and Joe Bitonio are 3 guys I'm having on my list.
So, in the beginning of free agency, I was looking at tight ends like Njoku and Pitts. So since we drafted one and signed one, I'm like, yeah, that's off the table now. So now I'm looking at like, let's see.
Well, Pitts signed his thing today, so I don't think he signed his what is that, franchise tag?
Yeah, that makes sense. So like I've been looking at Reddit as well. Petonio would be good. Even Jonah Williams.
Jonah Williams would be solid. Tackle depth.
Yeah. Kenny Moore would be fun. Bobby Wagner. Yeah. He has ties to the defense coordinator. So since they were both in Seattle, so it would work out.
Yeah, no, he has ties to Wagner and Bradley and Saleh. Because Saleh was in Seattle for a little bit too. So he has ties.
That's right.
I forgot one guy I mentioned at the linebacker spot. I think he's still out there, is Bobby Okereke, the linebacker. Look, the reason why linebacker is a little more lower for me now is because they got Anthony Hill on that team when you got some good guys behind you. But if you can also add Bobby Okereke, he also fits solid scheme on that defense. That's probably a guy that you can potentially see in this building as well.
Yes, I agree. I did 2 names, so give me one more. It's gonna be a little bit lower. Maybe I saw earlier like people throwing out like Cam Jordan from the Saints. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to see that happening. But the one I can see possibly happening, if he can stay healthy, is Matt Milano. He'd be good for us.
Matt
Or
Milano
even
would be
AJ.
nice.
Yeah, or even AJ Epinesa, one of those two.
Okay. Yeah, those guys would be nice on that defense.
Yeah. And the one spot I wish that we would have upgraded during the offseason is the kicker. Although Sly is good, but major upgrade since when he was available, but now he's resigned with the Cowboys, was Brandon Aubrey. Although you have given up a pick for him, that would have been worth it. It would have been worth the upgrade to get Brandon Aubrey in a Titan jersey. That would have been perfect.
Yeah, I was actually eyeing Brandon Aubrey for a long time before he signed that big deal with Dallas. I actually did want him for a while.
Yeah. So thank you for coming on.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. You always are welcome to come on, and we can even do this during the season. Have like going in the week, we can like break down what to expect for each game and such if you want.
You got my number. Let's do it. Let's run it.
All right. So don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and of course, tighten up.